The thought ran rampant in my mind, growing wilder with every step. I kept looking over my shoulder, the landscape was empty every time I checked. That just made me more paranoid. Was I really seeing things? John Joe chatted away, a distant hum in my ringing ears. I ignored him as he popped more and more berries into his mouth. He smacked his lips whenever I looked at him, teeth stained purple like he had been drinking wine. I walked on, leaving him behind. It had to have been Stephen the first saw. John Joe was wrong. He couldn't keep track of us and his hidden traps. As we reached our campsite, the little hope I had was crushed. The sight of Stephen sat on the wall mocked me. A cold feeling washed over me. A shout from John Joe almost deafened me. Stephen looked up. When he saw us he waved, and I stopped in my tracks. An urge came over me so violently that it made me dizzy. I stumbled over more rocks to Stephen, grabbing him by the shoulders, practically shaking him. "Were you up at the cliff?" I asked, desperate yet dreading what he'd say. Stephen didn't even blink, didn't even look at me. "What?" "Yeah, maybe." I felt like slapping him. "Were you or weren't you?" I struggled to keep my tone level, but I needn't have bothered. Stephen was focused on whatever was in his hands. I found something else. He thrusted his cupped hands into my face, forcing me to look. I caught a sight of that blood red again. I blinked at his hands. It looked like pomegranate seeds at first, but they were glass beads. It wasn't until I saw the little tarnished cross that I realized what it was. "A rosary," I breathed. Stephen grinned like a child on Christmas. Oh my God, literally. Stephen's excitement was palpable, so much so that my earlier concern was forgotten, briefly. "Wow, you've been really lucky," I told him. He was going to be a star when he went back to school. "Remind me to tell you to buy me a scratch card." Stephen laughed. I still trained on his cupped hands. "Could you go to my bag and find something for me to put this in?" Sure, I was genuinely pleased for him. My body felt lighter at his news. John Joe took his turn to gaze at the rosary. His hair made him look like a child dragging a big, floppy toy. I went to the backpacks shoved in the corner, digging through an endless supply of crisps and protein bars. How long did he think we were staying for? There was enough food for a month. In the middle of my search, I heard it again. A scuff on the rocks, the kind only made by a shoe. It was close by. Stephen and John Joe stood in the same spot, deep in conversation. Neither glanced at me. The anxiety began creeping up again. I strained my eyes to search for movement in the grass. Every twitch and rustle had me jumping. I swallowed, fear like a rock in my throat. I finally found a sunglasses case, which Stephen snatched from me. He placed the rosary inside carefully, then clutched it to his chest, a wide grin on his face. "Lads," he began, his tone serious, "I want to thank you for coming here with me." He looked up at me, glasses shining. I don't think I would have had the confidence to come by myself. John Joe, touched by his words, threw his arm around Stephen, hugging him close like the best friends they were, like we were supposed to be. I took a step towards them, hand outstretched, then stopped. My hand dropped like a dead weight. Instead, I turned away. I watched my friends, feeling more like a stranger intruding on a scene. Something rose within me at the sight, something that burned like bile. I saw someone, I heard myself say. Embarrassment warmed my face, and the looks on their faces didn't help. "Niall, what are you talking about?" "He thinks he saw someone on the cliff," John Joe explained. His tone struck a nerve, like a parent dismissing their child's nightmare. I couldn't help snapping. "I don't think." "I know." John Joe blinked, hurt flashing on his face. "I don't mean to offend," he apologized, glancing at Stephen. "It's just that can't be. We're all alone here." He took a step forward, touching my shoulder. "You do know that, right?" "The spot where he touched me burned." I shook off his hand. "Yes." I snapped again. "I'm just telling you what I saw." Instead of replying, John Joe just patted my shoulder. That annoyed me even more. He was treating me like a child. They both were. I saw the pity in Stephen's eyes, both their eyes, staring at me like I was crazed. And honestly, what if they're right? What if I was losing it? I was quiet the whole walk back, glancing over my shoulder with every step. I wanted to shove it in their faces. Nothing but the wind kept us company. Back at our campsite, I plopped myself in my designated corner, arms crossed, I still not speaking to either of them. Not even when Stephen found my empty pot noodle. "Well done," he grinned, like I was nothing more than a dog. I said nothing. I watched numb as John Joe skinned and gutted his catch. One of the biggest hares he'd ever seen, apparently. I shut my eyes, just as he sliced through something wet. The hare wouldn't stop looking at me, John Joe said, even when it got stuck in the trap. It didn't panic. It didn't strange. He hummed in thought, his bright golden eyes followed me. It watched me like it was interested, right up until I snapped its neck. I tried my hardest not to listen. I don't know why he was telling me. The pale sky quickly darkened, the wind picked up, and I began to shiver, despite my many layers. Stephen sat down next to the dead embers, and, with detailed instructions from John Joe, relight the fire. It was smaller than last night, the heat barely reached my fingers. I sat, shivering, as John Joe hogged the fire with the pot. His concoction bubbled like a witch's cauldron. The heady scent of cooked hare was thick in the air. I turned away, trying to breathe in the smell of grass. "Oh, that smells great," Stephen breathed. "Can I get a bowl?" John Joe nodded, already spooning it out. The steamy brown liquid was viscous like sludge. White, stringy pieces of meat plopped into the bowl. My stomach turned, yet I couldn't tear myself away from the sight. The pair slurped up the stew, smacking they just leave me alone? I picked the cottage furthest away, the only one with a roof, a sinking roof. It was pitch black inside, smelled of mildew, and the floor was just a layer of moss. I didn't bother setting up a tent, just threw down my sleeping bag and climbed inside. I thought about my nightly coffee, but the only way to brew it was back with my supposed friends. I would just have to go without. That was the reason for my stomach cramps, I told myself. Still fuming and shivering, I slipped away into a frustrated slumber. Darkness greeted me again when I opened my eyes. It was still night, that much I could tell, but something had forced me awake. It was deathly quiet, not even the wind rustled through the grass. My heart thudded in my ears, I was violently trembling. I had woken up in a state of fear, but why? Did I have a nightmare? Then, my eyes fell upon the open doorway, and I made eye contact with it. Peering around the wall, shin height, was a face. I thought it was one of my friends checking on me, until my eyes adjusted. The face was too gaunt, too pale to be one of them. This face was more like a skull, the skin clung too tight, the eyes bulged too much, but the worst part was their mouth. Their mouth was hanging open, an empty black maw. Strings of saliva dripped like ropes. I could only watch as a long dark tongue writhed its way out to lick their lips. Their rasping breath was a sound from my worst nightmares. I was right. God, I wish I wasn't.